Hello, welcome back. My name is Peter. This is Literary Fiction, the place where we do not have the brains for literary fiction. Welcome back to another week, another video. Did I wait for all the daylight to disappear before filming this video? Yes, I did. Did I iron my clothes before filming this video? No, I did not. But here I am, fourth week in a row. That is so unlike me in real life, but I'm glad I am here. So today I'm gonna be filming a video about books.
That is brand new information!
I will be discussing all of the book series that I have started and I have not finished them yet. I will only be referring to series that the books are out and I have not read them yet. I will not be referring to series that I'm waiting for the next book to come out, so you can understand what I mean. Before filming this video, I did think that there would be a lot of series that I have not finished. I did not expect this number of unread series, but yeah, here's to finishing our series in 2025. Why not? And by the way, sorry if you guys hear my dog in the background, then you should probably see a doctor because I do not have a dog. Yeah, I think I have 17 book series that I have not read, which is a big number, but some of them I will be reading them sometime, some of them not so much. I don't want them. And the first one I'm gonna talk about is Legend by Marie Lu. Now, I read this trilogy back when it was very popular in 2014. This is one of the most popular dystopian series that were published at that point of time. I read the entire thing. I made my brother, who does not read books, read it, and he enjoyed it because all three books were really fast paced and it felt like watching a movie instead of reading a book. And they were really well written. And as I said in my previous video, I was very much into dystopian at that point of time, and I still am to an extent. And many years later, Marie Lu published a fourth book in the trilogy, which became a series, I guess, a quartet, called Rebel, if I'm not mistaken, and I have not picked it up. The main reason is because there were many years that passed between the trilogy and the fourth book, and I really don't have many memories of the trilogy. So I was not willing to reread it just so I can read Rebel. But I think people enjoyed it, so I'm glad about it. The next series is the Magisterium series by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black. I read the first 3 books of the series and then stopped reading it altogether. I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't hate it by any means, but I think that there are more intriguing middle grade series for me to read. So I did not pick up the 4th book and I don't think I ever will. This series is similar to Harry Potter, where there's a magic school and the chosen one trope is used yet again. The characters were not interesting to me, and this is why I decided not to continue with the series. The books are in my parents' place, so I can't give them up. I can't unhold them, but maybe that's an idea for a future video. Next up is We Were Liars. This is a book where a family owns a private island, and every summer they go with their children and they spend the summer there, and something tragic happens and you spend the entire book figuring out what that was. I do not want to share more information, so I do not spoil anyone, because this is a great book if you want a good plot twist. Years after We Were Liars was released, the author released another book, a prequel, called A Family of Liars. This is the same situation as Legend for me, because there were many years that passed between the release of the 2 books. So even though I did want to when it was released, but I never bought the book and I never will. The next one is The Darkest Minds, another series that I talked about in the first video that I made. This was one of my favorite trilogies back in the day. Again, years later, Alexandra Bracken released The Darkest Legacy, which I think is Zoo's story. This series is basically there was a disease that spread among kids in America, And the kids that survived that disease, they presented some special powers, and these powers were classified based on their strength and power in colors. And basically, the government created these concentration camps so they can train the kids, allegedly. I love the trilogy, not the last book. And I wasn't really interested in returning to that world unless I reread the trilogy, but I didn't want to reread the trilogy, so I never picked it up. This is one of the things that, even though I will not be reading it ever, I think that if I did, I would really enjoy it. Next up is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I mentioned this series in my booktubeathon incident where I read the first book and then I remembered nothing about it. So, in order for me to read this trilogy, I will have to reread the first one, and I'm not really into that book anymore, so I will not be reading it. If I was to read a book by Laini Taylor, I think that would be Strange the Dreamer. It sounds really up my alley. So yeah, I will not be reading Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and I will not even share a synopsis because I don't remember what it's about. Next up is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This book was huge when it was first released. I remember me loving it as I read it. The plot twist at the end had me hooked. It's basically a world where people are divided based on the color of their blood, and the reds are not very important people, and the gold or silver ones, I don't remember, are the ones that have powers, and they are royals and aristocrats, and they have power. And basically there's a tournament that the main character takes part in. I read only the first book. I liked it. Then I bought the second book and then never read it. So I'm more interested in reading Tempest, the book that Victoria is writing now, and she is vlogging the entire experience on TikTok. You should check it out if you're interested. But I will not be reading Red Queen. Then we have Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I will not be talking much about this book because I did not like it. I mentioned it in a previous video. I only read the first book. I will not be reading the series, and I don't think any Rainbow Rowell book is for me. There's a reason people love them, I'm sure, but they're not for me. So sorry, Rainbow. So next up, we have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I have read the first 3 books, and here I have the next 3. I have them, I'm interested in the story, and I think I will be reading them at some point soon. I want to read them soon because they are very fun, and I think I can read them back to back. So this is basically a story where there's an orphanage that takes care of children with special powers. There's even a movie out. I did not like the movie, but the first 3 books were very fun, and I totally recommend you picking it up. The cool thing about these books is that they have creepy pictures, and the pictures make it even more fun. So I will be reading the books, and when I do, I want to vlog the experience, so stay tuned for that. Next we have Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, which is by the author of Percy Jackson, Rick Riordan, and this is about Norse mythology. I read the first book many years ago, and it did not leave a very lasting impression on me. I have no idea what happened. I remember enjoying it while I read it, but I never picked up the next one, so that says a lot. I don't think I will ever read this series. I'm more interested in the other ones that the author has published with Greek mythology. Next we have The School for Good and Evil. I read that book again many years ago, and I never picked up the second one. I think there are a lot in the series at the moment, and a movie has been released as well. This is basically a world where every year 2 girls are being kidnapped, and they're placed in the school for good and evil, one in the good department and one in the the evil department. And basically there are 2 friends where they both get kidnapped, and even though they seem to have an idea of one being evil and one good, the kidnapper, the bird or that kidnaps them, places them in opposite schools. I think that honestly, I'm willing to give this series another chance, but since it's been many years since I read the first one, I would have to reread it. Yeah, I think there are more exciting releases. This is not a definite no, but probably no. Next up, we have The Raven Boys, which again, I talked about it in my previous video. I have read The Raven Boys and The Dream Thieves. I think this series is okay. It just wasn't for me, and this is why I didn't pick up the next one, even though I bought Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King. I think this is one of the series that I would much appreciate as a TV show rather than a book. I don't think that will ever happen, but yeah, it's a great series. It just wasn't for me. Then we have They Both Die at the End. I will not share many things about this series again. I mentioned it in my previous video. I will never pick up another book from that series again, but I will gladly read another Adam Silvera book. Next, we have Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This was very big when it first came out because of its format. It is full of interviews and documents and many different things apart from just text on a page. I read the first book when it first came out. I never picked up the second and third books, but I think out of all the series that I read in the past many years ago, this is the one that I would like to finish the most, mostly because of its format and the things that I have heard about them. Will I ever buy them? I'm not sure. Maybe the ebook if it's cheaper. But this is basically a story about people living in a spaceship, I believe, and there's an AI that goes rogue and tries to kill people. I'm not sure. I will have to reread the book, but since the format is different, I think it will be a very fast reread. So yeah, I think I will read it eventually at some point. Up next, we have The King of Scars duology by Leigh Bardugo. I read Shadow and Bone, the trilogy. I did not like it. I loved Six of Crows, even though it had many words in every page. I read King of Scars, and I have yet to pick up the next book. Actually, I think I picked it up, read 100 pages, and was not feeling it at that moment. But I will definitely be reading that book because I really like Nikolai as a character. I didn't like Nina in King of Scars, even though I loved her in Six of Crows. But I think this is the year that I will be finishing that duology. I will not share much about the story because it contains spoilers about the other series, but yes, once I read it, I will share it with you. Next up, we have Wayward Children by Seanan McGuire. This is a long series, but every book is very short. I think every book is about 100 pages. I read 2 or 3 of them, I think 2 of them the last year. I liked them, but I could not connect to the characters as much, and even though stuff happened to them, I didn't really care. I think the story has potential, and if I'm in the mood of a quick read to catch up with my reading goal, maybe I will continue. But I do not feel, the main issue with me is that I do not feel connected with the story. This is basically some kids that find doors that transport them in different worlds. It sounds very interesting, and it is interesting. Maybe if I pick it up at another time, I will be more in the mood for it and I will enjoy it more. Next up, we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, I think. I read the first 3 books. I really liked them. This is basically a girl that is kind of poor, and she receives an envelope that she is the sole heir of this billionaire who left all his wealth and his estate and everything that he had to her. She didn't even know who that man was, but in order for her to receive that money, she has to live with the deceased man's family for a year. This was a very fun series. I really liked it. The first 3 books were very fun, and it kept me wondering what will happen next. There are 2 more books out, The Brothers Hawthorne and The Grandest Game. I think I will be picking up the next two books at some point when I'm in the mood for a quick, fun read because they're very entertaining. Yeah, this is a yes for me. Then we have Vampire Academy. I think this was very huge when it first came out, this series and the spin off series Bloodlines. I only read the first book. It wasn't for me. It was entertaining. It was a solid 3-star book. But I will probably, not probably, I will definitely never pick up any book of the series or the spin off. I don't have to say anything about the series, you probably all know it, so yeah, it's a no. And finally, the last series that I have not finished yet, but I'm working on it, is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I read the first book when it first came out. I even picked this book up from Waterstones when I went to London and brought it all the way to Greece. So I was very excited to read this book. I read it. I don't know what to say about this book because I don't want people to find my address and assassinate me. But I didn't love it. I think the writing style was very, very bad. It was very cringy. I think Violet suffers from I'm not like other girls syndrome. And I just started Iron Flame and I will be picking up Onyx Storm next because I have FOMO and I want to be included when people talk about this book. Yeah, so maybe I will do a reading vlog for these books. Maybe not, because I don't know how to vlog. We'll see. If you reached this part of the video, thank you very, very much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Please comment down below the book series that you want to finish as soon as possible. Let's talk about the books that we have not read yet. Thank you again for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you can get notified about when I post new videos. There will be another video next week, and I will see you then. Thank you. Goodbye.